Hey everybody, Z from the editing chair. I just wanted to let you know that this episode will contain spoilers for House of the Dragon. Continue at your own risk. Welcome everybody to the Chaotic Pubcast. I'm your host Z Diggity. I'm joined by Ryan Damask, aka Not Damask, and Mr. J, Jesse Aguirre today. And today we're talking about House of the Dragon. The finale just dropped, and we're all pretty jazzed about it. We've all watched it. We've all hopped on our own little rabbit holes of research after the aftermath of what happened. So we're going to hop right into it.
I listened
Your
to it.
thought-
I didn't watch it, but it's the same thing, right?
I played the video game version of it, so that's the same thing.
I read a summary of what happened in the episode online, so I basically watched it.
I prayed about it. I prayed to the seven about it, so I watched it.
It's narrated by Matt Smith.
I would love that. That would be so great.
That would be fucking awesome.
Oh my god, he had some great one-liners in this episode too. What they are, I can't tell you. But anyway, overall thoughts on the episode. I loved it. I did think it was. I was expecting a bit more to be happening, but my buddy Face Kicks, and I hate that he's right about this. He predicted the last two episodes perfectly, as in, is like it's all, and this is the tone that he said. And it's all going to be the same. Like they're all just going to be setting up the next season, and they're baiting us. That's what they're doing. They're baiting us. Then sure as shit, this is what they did. So, but that being said, the episode was great, and I thought it had a very Game of Thronesy, like oh shit going down end of the episode. So,
my thoughts would be that I haven't read the books, but I've wiki dove enough that unfortunately I knew a lot of what was going to happen. It did not make it any less badass watching it happen. And as I mentioned to you earlier today, I think some things have changed from the source material a bit that made it very interesting to see what direction they're going to go with it. I would say episode 9 was fan-fucking-tastic. Episode 10 was great as well, but like you said, it seemed slower than I expected. It was a lot of drawn-out drama up until the last final badass scene. And I wasn't expecting that. I remember watching last night's episode. We're recording on a Monday. Hi. And being like, wow, I don't feel like there's that much time left in the episode, and nothing that I thought was going to happen has happened yet. And then the boys, Luke and Jace, flew off, and I was like, holy shit, are we getting that in this episode? Because I was like, I know what comes next.
Oh man, Jay, what were your thoughts, man?
I liked it. I mean, I also have not read the books, so what I know is what I've spoiled for myself and what they've shown. I have spoiled for myself a lot because I am an impatient fuck, and I want to know what happens. So I looked up a lot of stuff, but what I looked up doesn't happen until like way later.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about this bit, right? I didn't know what was going to happen, but I saw him fly off. I'm like, oh man. It's that classic look of you think you're at peace, but it's not over yet. And then sure enough.
I am so glad you said that, Jay. I'm so glad you said that because like Brian, when you said like, oh, the episode's almost over and everything, right when Viserys and Jaceres, I think is how you pronounce it, said like, we'll do the writing. I was just like, this isn't going to end well. I like turned to Christina, and I'm like, I know what they're doing because to make it clear, I have not read Fire and Blood yet. I'm kind of giving it the same treatment that I gave Game of Thrones. I watched the very first season, and then I dove into the books after the first season. But I'm going to be reading it during the downtime, and I'm excited.
Listening to it?
But I'll be listening to it probably. let's be real, because Jay, you have a problem with people who use Audible.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with it.
Speaking of
I don't-
Audible, today's sponsor is.
I don't have a problem. It's just a question.
I answered the question. I thought, but you weren't satisfied with the answer.
I was not.
One thing I can tell you is, one of the last things you see of episode 10 is like the angriest, darkest face you've seen on Rhaenyra yet. And I cannot wait for episode 1 of season 2 when that face gets put to actuality and what she does, because it is nuts.
So I don't know. I mean, I know, like I said, what I know of what happened in the books is through a lot of YouTube videos that I watch. What I did see was that apparently what was different about the last scene was that in the text, Aemond, on that last scene when he's chasing Luke, Aemon was out for blood.
Yeah,
like he wasn't as self-contained as he was here. It was like, oh shit, it was an accident. No, he was out for. He was gonna kill it. He was out for him. So they made him a little bit.
That's
more,
That's what I told Z earlier. I was like, I'm pretty sure I read that, like, in the books, he was like, he meant to do.
Oh no,
it was not an accident.
No, he was out for blood on the books. And here they kind of painted him like, oh fuck, like I fucked up.
Right.
Yeah,
you're fucked up. It's gonna set off any terms that Rhaenyra was probably gonna consider from Alicent. Gone, all because of that little fuck up.
And they set up Rhaenyra the entire episode being like, she's the only one doing restraint, like saying like she's going to be this amazing queen that shows restraint and peace. She's like her father
out
and
the
everything.
window after her
completely
son.
by the end of the episode, like they did that on purpose. Where like, oh yeah, she's going to be great. And then the minute I see like I see Luke running from out to his dragon to run away, essentially, I'm like, okay, I've been through 8 seasons of this shit. I know exactly what they're doing. I know how they're doing it.
And just like in Game of Thrones, like, there's always like that one scene where you're like, oh, like if they would have done this one thing right here, it would have ended all this. It was when Otto Hightower like walks across the bridge to Dragonstone, and Damon's like, all right, kill him, bring Otto to me or whatever. I was like, if she would have just let him do that, that would have saved us like 4 seasons, because they cannot operate without Otto, at least for a while.
Yeah. It would have been over if Rhaenys, which I'm glad they actually addressed it in the episode, because if Rhaenys literally just went full Dracarys when they were crowning Aegon, the second in there, she could have ended it, but they actually addressed it.
That was serious.
Yeah, we wouldn't have this way. The series can happen.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like that they addressed that. And she was like, this isn't. I wasn't going to be the one to start the war. It wasn't my war to start, right? However, I will note that is probably fans' biggest gripe with the show right now. At least book readers, right? That was not in the books. In fact, Rhaena wasn't even in King's Landing at that time. And then they made this whole scene where she busts up out of the ground in the dragon pit and like probably killed thousands of innocent people.
But that didn't start the war.
Yeah, but that being said, though,
because it's not her character at all. It's not her character to just murder thousands to make a point, right?
Yeah, like, but those are the same people who are loving Daemon right now and forgetting everything that he did in the first like 3 episodes. Like those are the exact same people, so they can shut the hell up.
But I will say their gripe is that after the show is over and you have your little narrative, like, or your commentary by the creators of the show, one of the writers, this woman who came up with that part, she was like, I just remember walking in one day and thinking, oh, it'd be really badass if we had Rhaena bust up through the ground and on her dragon. I just thought that'd be really badass. And people were like, how is this any different than D&D? Being like, oh, we kind of forgot about Arya, like,
oh my god, yeah,
because it was just like an on-the-fly thing, just because they thought it would look cool, but it has like serious impacts on the story.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that throughout the whole show. The whole thing about when Viserys has dropped his crown and Daemon picked it up and put it on him, like that never happened in the books either.
That's
Yeah.
such a like my actor erection like went full hard on that when I heard that story, because like it's just I believe that was that actually happened. Like it was an accidental fall off of the crown, and you get those moments that are just unwritable. You know, like you cannot write it. And when they happen organically, you'd have to like experience it. When you have a moment like that, when you're doing a performance like that, it is like the most blissful feeling ever. And it just, the results it gives, like the entire movie of Joker with Joaquin Phoenix were those moments basically. Mm-hmm. And so, which is why
improv moments.
Yeah, I love them. But the ones that naturally just appear through the ether, like forcing it, it's not nearly as good. Yeah. You know. But
I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?
I'll do you. How is Gamora? Is that an improvised moment by
Batista? Batista. Yeah, that was an improv, and they kept it.
Oh, that's great! I love it. I
will say, episode 10 was despite some of the pacing, that like I said, I felt it was a little slow, but I'm happy for it. And it's, like I said, I still think it's great. It was a very visceral episode. From the very end of the episode, when you see Lucerys and his dragon get annihilated, even to back at the beginning of the episode when, I don't know, probably the cringiest, and I don't mean bad, but cringiest, and like it made me grit my teeth, is when she has that miscarriage and you just see it go kerplunk out on the ground. I was just like, oh God.
I saw him. I just had my eyes wide open. But I think what shocked me the most was that nobody had a reaction.
Yeah, I do remember after that first where she gets ruthlessly cut open to try to save that baby. People were like, holy shit, we're okay with this? It's like, I mean
what's wrong with
that's how it was. Yeah. That's how it was.
Yeah.
If you don't like the show, then don't send an email. Don't watch it. Just don't watch it. It's like, I don't know. People are
like, you know what to expect. Like you heard all the things about Game of Thrones.
I don't know. I feel like the first, I mean, we saw Ned Stark get his head chopped off, and
that was like the first
in season 1, and we were like, holy shit. And then eventually we got around to like Red Wedding, which we were like, holy shit. But I think just in season 1 of this show, like we've hit some new like holy shits that we haven't hit before. Like I think we can expect a lot more of that from this show. Just knowing like stuff that happens. Like I'm not gonna spoil anything for that happens past season 1, but we're not idiots. We know there's no dragons in Westeros at the beginning of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I honestly think that these are people who are like people who are sending the emails and are children of, like they say in the books, children of summer. They have not yet experienced what Game of Thrones is yet.
Yeah.
Wait till winter is here, my friends, and Game of Thrones is back. So
I have been telling people that like, hey, even if you didn't watch Game of Thrones or whatever, like you could still hop into House of the Dragon and be good, like have a good idea what's going on. It definitely helps if you watch Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it'll help you out in the sense that you would recognize not even the names, just house names.
Yeah.
And that's really it. But you don't really need that knowledge. It's more like for your own fan service, I guess. Really?
Yeah, I watched all of Game of Thrones twice, and I'm still like, where the hell are the Stormlands again? Or like,
yeah.
So where's Casterly Rock again in relation? Like trying to think about it geographically. Like, so don't worry. Speaking of which, one of the coolest scenes of episode 10 was when they lit up the fucking table in Dragonstone with the fire.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. They described that.
Supposed to look at Game of Thrones as well, but I mean, a lot of things were supposed to look different in Game of Thrones that they couldn't.
They didn't have the massive budget that they had. I mean, towards the end of Game of Thrones, they definitely did. But I think House of the Dragon off the jump is working with a much bigger budget.
Oh, yeah.
You mean to tell me that the first season of Game of Thrones didn't have the budget to put some RGBs into the painted table.
Granted, that table didn't even come out till like later in the seasons,
right,
like
right,
later
yeah.
in the series.
It was when
Stannis.
Stannis moved into Dragonstone.
The one true king, the guy I was rooting for to get the ascend the Iron
one
Throne.
true king. Yes, Stannis should have been king, and I'll stand by that till the day I die.
I'll die on this hill. It was Stannis. It should have been Stannis.
He did some
all
questionable
along.
things, but who wouldn't? Anyway,
I mean, he was a man of action. Stannis was, you know.
Stannis
I mean, granted, spoiler alert. You know, sequestering his daughter, death. That's kind of one thing. But,
killing his brother.
But he had the best hand of the king, and that was one of my top 3 favorite characters, the Onion Knight, Sir Davos. So.
Yeah, Sir Davos.
Yeah.
So good.
I was telling Jay a little bit ago that there was another scene that really like got me like up on my seat, and that was when it's close to the end of the episode when Lucerys lands at the Baratheon. Fuck, what is it? Storm's End?
Stormland? Storm's
Okay.
End or Stormland?
Storm's End, right?
Yeah.
I always want to say Storm Peaks because I played World of Warcraft, and that's what always fucking comes in my head. But yeah, Storm's End, Boros Baratheon, and he lands, and then yeah, you see Vhagar up there in the background. Oh my god!
Yeah, oh my god,
Godzilla.
I was legit terrified when you just see the skin, because you see Vhagar once when Aemon first claims Vhagar, but with the rain. And just the scale.
Whenever Vhagar flew over Luke, because he's just flying away and like he's looking around for Vhagar and Aemon, and then he's like, he just looks forward and you just see him Vhagar fly over.
Well, you first see it like when he's in the clouds and you see the lightning strike and you see his shadow back in the clouds.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I think this was the first scene that we've seen Vhagar in scale in relation to like a castle or in relation to another dragon. Like we saw him like on a beach or like down when Aemon first like encountered him, which was kind of like in like a pit. And you couldn't really tell it to scale to anything because you can't tell a hill from a mountain if you don't have anything to put it beside, right? And so this is the first time we really got to see him, and Jesus Christ, he's monstrous.
Yeah.
Vhagar's a she. It's a she. You beat me to it, Jay. But and the thing is Vhagar wasn't even the biggest dragon. Balerion was.
Right.
Like that's wild to me. Like that,
which is the skull that we have down under King's Landing, right? That we keep seeing.
Yeah, and
so
anyway,
Aegon,
that's
Aegon's dragon. Aegon, the original Aegon the Conqueror dragon.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Balerion's, and then I think her name is Visenya. I think was Vhagar's original writer. Then it passed down to like Balon. Then it passed down to like Vhagar. She's had about like 8 different writers. So yeah, and they're all middle childs or second sons, or which is
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was pointed out in when I was doing some Alt Shift X. I think Jay, the one that I think they mentioned it.
Definitely,
or it might have been
channel.
Yeah. But yeah,
he breaks down like the background. That's why I really like watching his breakdowns, and he has a lot of videos about like lore, Game of Thrones lore, and just the Game of Thrones and just stuff from the books. It's really cool. Like I went on a deep rabbit hole right before season 8 of Game of Thrones came out, or whatever the last season was. And I was just
season 8,
everything.
So you guys know a little bit more than me. Comes in this. What's Aemon's eye now? Is it some kind of blue gem? It's a sapphire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I'm actually really glad that it translated. I was really nervous because, like Jay, I do know a lot of what is to come in the books, but that's legitimately me doing Westerosi research. And this is before I even knew this series was going to happen. Yeah. So I was like, oh, wow, the series. Like I was learning about all these kings and stuff. Yeah. And so I know vaguely kind of what happens. But like with the sapphire and the eye thing, like I was actually very worried that was going to look really stupid on screen. but I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, it looked really cool. I thought, yeah.
And I think I'm gonna love Aemond as a character. Like Aemond, like he's he's kind of warming up to me. Like he's incredibly complex. I feel like he's lining up to be one of the more complex characters.
You know why I
Right.
started liking him?
Why?
Toast to my nephews. Very
The
wise,
strong.
handsome, strong. Like, oh, you
Three
petty.
strong boys.
I was like, oh, you petty.
What a-
Oh, you petty.
Dude, he's like throwing like massive shade. That's like a shade that like girls throw at each other, you know, like that very passive, like worse than like directly assaulting somebody, but like
It's
that's
like indirect jabs
So-
that people fucking love that shit.
After
because there's
episode,
nothing you can do.
after episode 9, one of my friends who we always talk about after we watch the show was like, I really love Eamon, and I was like, not for long, you won't, because like I knew it was coming. I didn't know it was going to be in episode 10, but like that, I remember from reading that was like the first like really fucked up thing he did. And I was like, it's pretty much downhill from here.
Just you wait. I can't wait for the scene where he gets yelled at. And really, and so to circle back real quick, I really was confused about them, why they made it come across as an accident on both parties.
I'm not sure. I think they want to
because
make Alicent feel more like, oh my god, I really didn't want anything bad to happen.
Yeah, because they are portraying Alicent in a very interesting way, because she is known as the good queen in the book. Like she's known as, everybody loves her, but they're kind of playing into the fact that she does put on a face a lot. She puts on this front, you know, with her worship of the seven, her quote unquote.
She puts on stuff and she takes off her shoes. What else?
Yeah.
What else is the queen
It's
to do?
supposed to be like her
Right.
whole thing for wanting Aegon to be king wasn't so much to like, oh, I want to be in charge of everything. I want all the power. It was like, from what I understand, it was really like this faux survival sense that Otto instilled in her. Like, where if he's not king, then that means it's going to be Rhaenyra, and she's going to kill your children. She's going to kill you. She's going to wipe out this family. And like,
Now
it's
she
something
will.
like something that's been nailed in her like every day, to the point where she's like, oh my god, I have to like protect my family. That's why I'm doing this. Like, it wasn't necessarily really to be like evil or to be all powerful or anything like that. It was just to protect her family from this fake illusion that her whole family would be murdered by Rhaenyra's.
I think ultimately Aemon really wanted to just maim Luke than anything, by asking him to cut out his eye. Like, no pun intended, eye for an eye kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what
at first-
Alicent wanted.
Exactly. And I think that's, I think, now that I think about it,
It's
because at first,
interesting because he had let it go when it initially happened.
I honestly don't even think he wanted that in this episode. I think it was all just like scare tactics. Like, he was like, here, yeah,
just
do
being
it.
a shit.
Cut out your eye.
Yeah,
And then
he
like
was
trying
being a
to,
little
he was
shit.
really, it was just intimidation.
Yeah,
And then
Yeah.
flying after him on Vagar was just more intimidation. And then the inevitable happened and ended up killing him. Which like we said wasn't how it was in the book. But but as far as the show goes, I think that I don't think he was actually trying to cut out his eye. I think he was just being a shithead
He's
trying to
being a
intimidate
shithead.
him.
Yeah.
maybe I'm reading too deep into this. I honestly think that scene, and maybe why they perceived it as more of an accident, I think they wanted to make it more of an allegory. This isn't man versus man here, or boy versus boy. This is beast versus beast.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's
Because-
for them to portray that like the dragons they're not in control of the dragons. The dragons are ultimately in the edge.
Exactly.
Which is a
Once-
callback.
Yes.
Which is a callback to what Viserys said early in the season, when he's like, "We don't actually control them. We'd be nothing without them."
Yeah.
It's like they're monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I honestly think that it's an allegory for like when the Targaryens like lose their dragons. This is going, like, they're just mortals and they're just people.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a theme, an underlying theme that they're
crossbred.
going to.
Mortals.
Very inbred,
Yeah,
cleft
inbred.
lips.
Yeah, I was gonna say crossbreed. Yeah, not
Yeah.
You never see a Targaryen with a cleft lip. I'll tell you that. That's kind of weird.
Well, but Aegon's sons do have 6 fingers and 6 toes, which is a deformity from incest.
Mm-hmm.
And
this
is
true.
Like I said, we saw
Giant of Kandahar confirmed.
He's a product of incest.
There we go.
We saw Rhaenyra lose a child earlier in the episode, and I think that is supposed to be like, I mean, obviously this is in our standards Middle Ages where this kind of thing happens all the time, but like I think this was more to point out like this is a product of you're with your uncle, dude.
Yeah.
Like, these children aren't going to come out perfect. You should go back to the Strongs.
I would be really strong of you to do that.
I guess I should ask you, because like I feel like shows and movies are doing this more and more where they put 2 factions together. Are you guys team black or team green?
I mean,
and granted, I know that neither side none of them are good people.
Oh no,
point, that's no judgment.
Like, that was like one of my things ever since like what episode 2 or 3, and like you watch the episode, you're like, all right, these guys are good, these guys are bad, and then you watch episode 2, you're like, all right, maybe these guys aren't that great, but these guys aren't good, and then episode 3, I'm just like, is there any good people in the show? Everybody's fucked. Everybody's a fucking asshole. I think Viserys was the only one that was like kind of an actual like good guy.
And even then, he committed. He put his wife. He put his wife to the knife in order to save a child, but it was with good intent.
Yeah,
like, I think you're right,
because he was just like, it's either my wife and my kid, or at least potentially just my wife. Because I was like, my wife's gonna die regardless, right? So at least let me try to save the baby.
But I think I'm team Westerling, who is the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, who was just like, I'm out this bitch until you decide on a king.
No, I thought he went with Rhaenyra, didn't he?
He bowed out.
No, I thought he did. I guess like I thought he went with Rhaenyra.
I want to say something that does mirror the previous series that they did with Viserys and Ned Stark, at least something that I noticed. Despite Ned Stark being like basically the kind of Jesus Christ of Game of Thrones, like the good, honorable man, they are pointing out morally that you can be honorable to a fault. Yeah, like Ned was honorable to a fault. He could have kept his mouth shut and everything could have been fine. But he's honorable to a fault. That's what got him killed. Viserys, all of his choices and decisions led to inaction on everything. You know, he just wanted everybody to get along, and he was an ultimate diplomat, but he made no firm decisions.
Yeah, he turned a blind eye to things.
Yeah, so Viserys, while morally he was probably the best character, he's not completely out of the water, because a lot of his indecision is why this is all happening.
You can be the best person in the world, but if you're naive to a fault as well, you're just allowing other issues to run rampant under you. It might not be a war, but you have your own issues that will lead to a war when you die.
Yeah, I think the best people, like the people that I personally strive to be, are the people who can be a good person, but also are willing to make those tough decisions that may even tarnish their reputation. Sometimes, you know, you have to. Like, that's just life. We live in an ugly world. So yeah.
What's the he was the King's Hand, the strong guy.
I
can't think of his first name, but that was probably like the best person on the show.
No, I think the actual like good person, his name is Lord Lionel Strong, by the way.
Lionel, thank you.
No, I think the actual just good guy was the actual husband that Rhaenyra had, and I can't remember his name.
Oh, Laenor.
He was an actual like good guy.
Kind of. He ran away from all of his responsibilities all the time.
Yeah, but that's because freaking Rhaenyra basically allowed him to.
And in the books, they never allude that Rhaenyra lets him go away. He dies.
Interesting.
He actually does die in the books.
Yeah.
So whenever that fake death happens scene, that's actually real in the books. Like, the fact that he got away with the show.
It is like that is in the books, the fake death for Laenor.
I don't know. I just know that
he doesn't survive. He doesn't
Yeah, he
survive in the
doesn't.
books.
Oh, okay. So he
Yeah,
dies.
like yeah. And
Oh,
then that
gotcha,
was the difference that they did. Like they let him go, and he's actually alive in the show, but at this point, he's
Yeah.
dead in the books.
Good. Yeah, I love the character as well. But I don't know that he was like the moral compass I'd follow, right? Like he skirted all responsibility. He just wanted he wanted lust and violence. I mean, he wanted to go to war and he wanted to fuck his
He wanted
little
adventure.
boyfriends. Yeah, I
He
mean,
wanted
like,
adventure. Yeah, I mean, he didn't want to be king. He didn't want that.
no, he didn't.
So, like, I mean, he did his part, and he's with him and Rhaenyra, like they did their part as married couple, but I mean, they couldn't work.
So to circle back real quick, because I want to make sure I don't leave the viewers hanging. Like you said, House Westerling, Ryan.
Yeah.
For like, if you were to choose between the greens and the black, you choose Westerling.
Yeah, he took off his white cloak and said, "I won't choose a side until it's supported by all." Basically, I mean, he was like, until there is an actual king or queen that's been determined, I'm outie. I don't know what he does in the books or in the show, but I imagine he just goes and starts a little farm somewhere and just retires.
In your head, Kit. And that man gave birth to Barristan Selmy. No.
I think one character that they've kind of done a little dirty so far, and I hope they kind of fix it a little bit in season 2, based on what I've read and what I've watched. Kristen Cole. Anyone who's just watched the show, like myself, hates that little bitch.
Because like, he's being a little bitch in the show.
He is. He's being a total, for lack of better terms, incel, right? Like he's just angry because things didn't go his way with Rhaenyra's, and now he hates her guts. And now he's just a little brat about everything. He makes little offhanded comments about her. He wants to do everything to keep Lady Alicent happy, which some of that is kind of true to the source. But in the books, he's a master tactician. Like he's very smart. He's very
combat efficient.
Not even combat efficient, but like he's more. He's not as blunt. I'm trying to think of the good word. Like he's smarter about the things he says and the things he does.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get. I'm picking up what you're putting down. You know, it makes sense.
It's not. It's not all solely based on like revenge against her for being a shit towards him, which is what the show makes it feels like.
I honestly think that you like. I know you said it wasn't like the word to use, but I honestly think he really is a medieval incel in this. Like it's true. Like I will let you know my opinion.
Maybe so. I didn't want to use the word. I didn't know if it was against YouTube's TOS, just because that makes up the majority of their viewers.
Don't scare our viewers away.
Oh, don't scare the incels away. Oh man.
Just kidding. We stand.
I'll bleep out the word. I'll bleep it.
I don't.
God, yeah, fuck She-Hulk, am I right? Yeah, right, guys? Yeah, fuck She-Hulk.
Men.
Yeah.
Todd.
Good Lord. All right, we'll just sweep that under the rug.
I don't transition from this one.
Speaking of Todd, Kristen Cole is slamming that dude's the Master of Coin head on the table. That was like my biggest like
unnecessary.
Yeah, that was very unnecessary.
Nobody's questioning how much this dude has gotten away with.
Oh, not at all.
Like ever since he fucking killed what's his name boyfriend
Knight of Flowers
in the middle of the wedding, nobody questioned him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it's like if you're a monarch, you can do or say whatever you want. Like everything is an executive order with them. So if the queen says he's cool, then everybody's going to believe it.
Yeah.
Speaking of questionable dudes that the queen is friends with.
Oh, foot McJackie Offie McWanky Wharton.
She
sorry, what
really
was-
knows how to keep company.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Good lord.
At least all she has to take off is her shoes.
Right? I mean, like I was it's kind of funny because then you actually look back every time she's in the room with him, she takes her shoes off in previous episodes. So, but then like when they started like
but they didn't
really
focus in on it until this last episode or episode
when
9.
they started telegraphing it, like because they telegraphed it a little bit when they kind of showed her taking her shoes off. I'm like, oh, like my first thought is like, oh, does he have a foot thing? And then I was like, no, he couldn't have a foot thing. Then she takes her socks off. I'm like, and then when he pulls his I'm like, God damn it, Game of Thrones, why? I mean,
I get it, right? He has a faulty foot.
He has a club. But look, if I have a long-term injury on my left hand, I'm not going to be going around flogging my meat to every left hand I see. I mean,
I said I wasn't going to give any spoilers about what happens after season 1, but bad news, House of the Dragon fans. Foot guys here to stay for a while.
No. We should make.
I guess he's the little finger, right? Essentially, of this.
Yeah. Little pinky toe.
Little pinky toe. No, but because little finger was like the demonic one that just had all the secrets, right? And that's basically.
Yes. Yeah. I think for all intents and purposes, this is supposed to be the Peter Baelish of House of the Dragon.
Yeah. Who's not exactly like the most subtle person because all of his mutes he put his emblem on, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
I wonder what we're gonna see about
we kind of forgot we cut off their tongues.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I wonder what we're gonna see. What are we gonna see about Aegon's bastards lying around town?
That's gonna be a big deal, I think.
Mm-hmm. You know too much, Ryan. I don't think you can.
I know. I had to stop myself.
They wouldn't have taken the time. They wouldn't have taken the time to show the Erics, the Eric and the Auric.
Yeah, they showed the conflict between both of them. Like they're obviously divided, right?
So and now those characters are floating around with this information. So I think they're going to use. I think the Blacks are going to use that as a tactic to take away some illegitimacy to Aegon's claim, and because.
No, speaking of Aegon's bastards, I don't think the White Worm is actually dead.
Oh, I don't think so. Those off-screen deaths. Those off-screen deaths aren't real,
right? Which I haven't read anything about that. So
I actually don't know that either. Yeah, that's
what about our boy Stannis? He died off-screen.
But I think she's gonna play a pivotal part in like being kind of an information broker, if you will, to both sides. Is my thought.
I guess And Jay, I need to get in. Which side did you side with, Jay? I want to make sure I get all the answer in.
The Blacks.
Now, I would say the Blacks as well, and I think I spent a lot of time in like House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones comment sections, and most people that I see are obviously side Black, mostly just because everybody fucking loves Matt Smith, Damon. I will say that like Damon is as much fucked up shit in the show so far that Damon's done. Like putting his hand around Rhaenyra's throat was like the thing that got me like, hey, you fucking let her go, Damon. Like, I was like
you do whatever you want with anybody else, but not Rhaenyra.
Yeah, not even because it's her. I don't know. It's just like maybe that strikes a chord with me. But I think he lusts for power, lust for war, and he wanted to be king all along, and now it's within grasp, and she's dragging her feet, and you see how little she finally means to him over his desire or lust for power. And it's like, man, right when I was starting to like you and you were really seeming likable, and there was that deleted scene from the episode after his previous wife died, where he actually like goes and hugs the children.
Yeah, and kind of a soft moment for him.
Yeah, and I don't know. I want to see Damon in a positive light, and he just keeps like reverting back. And I know it doesn't
I
get any better, but
I think he's a man. I think ultimately he is a man with a code and morals. I don't think he's 100% a bad person by any means. That being said, I do think, and I think he's very aware
Well,
of it,
no,
that
he
he
kind of
has
killed
his
his
demons.
first wife. The way he killed his first wife.
Did you? Are you? Can I finish, please?
No.
So I think honestly, I think he's very aware that he is a monster, but I think he's really trying, if that makes sense.
one point on that is whenever they were talking about gathering allies to their cause, and they were like, we should reach out to the Veil. Like, they've always had a strong relation with our house, and they would love to come to our aid. I was like waiting on the edge of my seat for the camera to just like pan over to Damon and him be like
That exact face.
Yeah, totally.
The Michael Scott.
I'll send a raven out the first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh god. But yeah, I do like just to kind of iterate, like I think ultimately I don't think he's 100% a bad dude, but I do acknowledge that yes, he killed his wife. However, in the text, it never directly states that he killed his wife. It just alludes to that he might have.
We got to think about things in the context of this show. If they're going to take things a different direction, we need to look at this through TV show colored lenses.
I don't think that was I don't think it was them taking a different direction. It was them just filling in the blanks a little bit. Like when she dies, like in the text, they like it alludes to people saying like, "Oh, I think she killed him." Like that people are whispering that he might have, but it never directly says. So I think they're. I don't know where I was going with it.
I will say my final thoughts on House of the Dragon show was I really kind of given up on Game of Thrones as a source of entertainment after the blotch final season of Game of Thrones proper, and yeah, I didn't really I wasn't built up for House of the Dragon at all. Like I wasn't like counting down the days or anything. And then I remember a couple weeks before it came out, I was like, oh, we get some new Game of Thrones stuff. I'll check it out. Maybe it'll be good.
I didn't even watch it till like it was 4 episodes in. That's when I finally started watching it.
Yeah, because I was just like, how can you make up for such a phenomenal blunder? And I remember watching episode 1 and was like, I'm hooked. This show is going to be amazing.
I think what convinced me was like, the book is done. You literally can't fuck it up.
But they stuck to the books.
But that's another thing. It's done. It's done because it's not a novel. It's almost like an anthology of small tales here and there, which leaves a lot more room for interpretation. If I understand it correctly, it's like a collection of different perspectives about things that happen, if I'm right. And so none of it is like a factual source of truth like a novel is, like an author is telling it. It's these different characters within the story that are telling their own personal view of the events. And so it does leave a lot of interpretation for a screenwriter to take from it. And so I think that's some of the reason that we're seeing things kind of differ from the source material, is because the source material, whatever the case may be, was biased in a certain direction. And so while we do have a start, many points of climax and a conclusion, an overarching plot, there isn't the nitty gritty of Game of Thrones where like we knew exactly what these lines were, where we knew exactly what happened. And so I don't know. I think there's a lot they can do with it and kind of go off script while still sticking to the source material.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. My final thoughts on it, ultimately, I think they've done a great job with this first season. I think they've more than made up from what the debacle. I will forever be scarred by what happened in season 8. So like they'll never be fully forgiven me, but I think they've took a step in the right direction. And I read that they want to do 5 seasons of this. So let's just hope they keep their shit together for 5 seasons, which is the thing, because I feel like everything started going downhill with the original series around season 6.
This should be called season 0. This was the build up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I loved it. I'm looking forward to a whole bunch more. I'm glad that we get to see dragons right out the gate. We get to see multiple dragons. We get to see. I love history. I love that we're getting the stuff of a history book, basically, and the characters are great, and the acting is insanely good. So top notch, chef's kiss. That is my final thought.
I like it. I'll keep watching it.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. All right. That'll be it for today's episode. Please, guys, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Be sure to hit that bell so you can get notifications of daily episodes. We are also on Spotify and anywhere else that podcasts can be found. We have merch. Please buy our merch. You will find a link in the description below. And did I catch everything?
Patreon.
Follow us on... Yep, follow our Patreon, which will be in the link below as well as our socials. If you want to chat with us, if you want any business inquiries, email chaoticpubcast@gmail.com.
Charity stream in a week from the day this releases.
Be there.
Be there, be square. Yep. So November 5th, we're doing the Extra Life charity stream. It's going to be super fun. We got about 20 or 30 people involved this year. We raised $7,000 last year, and we're hoping to hit $10,000 this year. All the money goes to the Miracle Network hospitals, and we will see you then for 24 hours. All right, guys. You all have a good night. Thank you very much, and until next time, peace.
Peace.